On the other hand, he didn't actually say sorry to Charlie Kirk or his family. And the reason that so many people, including me, were so upset with what Jimmy Kimmel said is that he accused Charlie Kirk's murderer of being a MAGA or a right-wing American. It wasn't a joke. It was straight-up disinformation, and I really wish Jimmy Kimmel would apologize.
Well, Vice President Maybelline was making the rounds, attempting to defend his boss and the chairman of the FCC with a new fairy tale even a 5-year-old wouldn't believe.
Celebrities are rallying to his cause, saying this is a First Amendment assault being carried out by the FCC, Brendan Carr, and by the President of the United States himself. And to that, you say?
Well, there are two things. First of all, I'd like them to tell me exactly what Brendan Carr did to have Jimmy Kimmel taken off the air, because
the internet didn't just flinch. It fell out of its chair. Jimmy Kimmel lit the fuse. Trump and JD Vance were standing a little too close, and the explosion was loud enough to rattle every comment section online. Supporters are pacing, critics are celebrating, and nobody agrees on what just happened. What pushed this from jokes to a full-blown meltdown? Strap in and let's walk straight into the chaos.
Well, Jimmy Kimmel was fired because he had bad ratings more than anything else, and he said a horrible thing about a great gentleman known as Charlie Kirk. And Jimmy Kimmel is not a talented person. He had very bad ratings, and they should have fired him a long time ago. So, you can call that free speech or not. He was fired for lack of talent.
It's also sweet that even in the middle of the biggest sex scandal in the history of the American presidency, he takes precious time on the toilet to post about our show. Keep saying we have bad ratings, and you should listen to him, because if anyone knows about bad ratings, it's that guy.
It started with a few harmless jokes, a sprinkle of sarcasm, and a late-night grin that quickly escalated into a full-blown digital demolition derby. Jimmy Kimmel didn't just poke at Trump and JD Vance. He rolled up in a comedy tank, loaded with monologue-grade firepower, and made the kind of jokes that make entire timelines question their life choices.
In 6 months, when they're indicted for crypto fraud, he'll say he never met them. Uncle Scam also treated the gathered crowd to a fairy tale about how low the price of food is now since he took office.
Walmart announced that the cost of their standard Thanksgiving meal is 25% lower. The price of Thanksgiving turkey is down 33% from its Biden era highs. Potatoes are down 13%, and gasoline will soon be hovering around $2 a gallon.
Yeah. Just like your weight is hovering around 175.
You could almost hear the collective gasp of supporters, as if the universe itself had whispered, "Oh." Trump, predictably, didn't handle it like a rational adult. There was no slow burn of self-reflection. No, that would require self-awareness, a rare artifact in the Trump archives.
I finished watching the vice presidential debate between two men who couldn't be much more different. One of them called Donald Trump a reprehensible idiot who shouldn't be president. The other is Tim Walz. Walz and Vance, they stuck to the issues. They showed each other a lot of respect. It was very boring. I'll be honest. I like these better with Trump. I really do. I don't know that anyone's vote was changed tonight. Watching a vice presidential debate it's like taking your kids apple picking.
Instead, the response was somewhere between a deflated balloon and a firework stuck in a tree. Every word, every flinch, every tweet served only to accelerate the chaos, like gasoline poured onto a barbecue pit already set ablaze. JD Vance, on the other hand, had a more delicate reaction.
I have honestly lost count now of how many times the president has demanded I be pulled off the air. I mean, talk about a snowflake, this guy. Every 5 weeks, he flips out and wants me fired. If you got this many threats from a neighbor, you'd have no problem getting a restraining order. The judge would be like, yeah, it sounds like the guy's nuts. Boom. It's disturbing. And you've done this before. You tried to get me fired in September. It didn't work. Mr. President, I admire your tenacity. If you're watching tonight, which I presume you are, how about this? I'll go when you go, okay?
Picture a man caught mid-chew, suddenly realizing he's at the wrong dinner party, and everyone is holding up their phones recording him. It wasn't just embarrassment. It was embarrassment turbocharged with "why am I even here?" vibes. The kind of moment where you feel the very air in the room conspire against you. And Twitter, of course, noticed immediately. Memes spawned faster than rabbits on Red Bull. Kimmel, meanwhile, was effortlessly gliding through the chaos like it was another Tuesday. Each joke landed with the precision of a cat knocking over an expensive vase. The internet had collectively decided this was no longer entertainment. It was a public roast turned national sport. And oh, the subtle digs. The little barbs that could be mistaken for compliments if you squinted at the right angle, but were actually full-on verbal landmines. A comment about a hairstyle became a metaphor for questionable judgment. A light jab about a tweet spiraled into a critique of life choices. By the end, it wasn't even about politics anymore. It was about identity, brand management, and the fragile illusion of dignity.
But, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your bullshit. Go on.
There's something else that's important here, Laura, which is that these broadcast companies, ABC, NBC, CBS, they enjoy the public airwaves because they serve the public interest. So I actually think that we should be having a conversation about whether these companies are serving the public interest. That's actually totally separate from the Jimmy Kimmel issue because nothing happened to him. He's currently on the air, and to the extent that he's not, it's because advertisers don't like him because his ratings aren't very good.
My ratings aren't very good. Last time I checked, your ratings were somewhere between a hair in your salad and chlamydia.
Meanwhile, social media descended into a mix of fan celebration and frantic damage control. Supporters tried to rally, attempting the impossible feat of defending the indefensible with the speed of typing equivalent to sonic booms. Critics, on the other hand, sharpened their keyboards like medieval knights sharpening swords, ready to charge into every thread, every meme, every screenshot. Even the neutral observers found themselves leaning closer, unable to resist the gravitational pull of comedy carnage. The JD Vance meltdown segment deserves its own highlight reel. Here was a man who spent years building an image of intellect, poise, and political potential, only to be reduced to a living reaction gif. The jokes hit like a series of unexpected dodgeballs. He swatted at some, missed others entirely, and occasionally bounced off the wall with bewildered energy. The more he tried to respond, the more it looked like he was participating in a chaotic interpretive dance.
He says a lot of crazy stuff. In that same press conference, he said there have been no murders in Washington, D.C. in the last 6 months because of him. There have been 62 murders in Washington, which already indicates a vivid imagination. But does he really look at himself in the mirror and go, I am thin? I am so thin, I can comment on others who aren't.
But I would never want to talk about his weight. I don't talk about people being fat. I refuse to talk about the fact that he's a fat slob. I don't mention it.
I don't know if that's sarcasm or short-term memory loss.
And the audience, both live and online, couldn't look away. This was the kind of spectacle that transcended politics. It was absurdist theater delivered in real time. One of the most remarkable aspects of this disaster was the way it spiraled outside the usual late-night ecosystem. Late-night jokes normally fade into the void within 24 hours, replaced by trending hashtags and viral cat videos. Not this time. Memes mutated into dozens of iterations in hours. Each tweet, clip, and GIF became a miniature controversy. The sheer velocity of digital amplification turned what was supposed to be comedy into a global ping-pong of reactions, counter-reactions, and sarcasm so sharp it could cut through Wi-Fi signals. Demolition blueprint. And in that blueprint, there was no mercy, only escalating absurdity. It was like watching a magician reveal the trick mid-performance, but somehow, the audience still applauded in awe. Vance's attempts at countering were almost charming in their futility. He tried to pivot, tried to reclaim the narrative, but every move was anticipated and undercut by the rhythm of Kimmel's jokes. It was like watching someone try to fight gravity, adorable, tragic, and inevitably doomed. Every reaction clip circulating online confirmed it. The man had become a meme factory without ever intending to.
I'm not the one who's going to be doing mascara tutorials on YouTube. How did we wind up with a president and a vice president who wear more makeup than Kylie Jenner and Lady Gaga combined? You know what? I have a lot of friends and family in this audience tonight, and a lot of them are named Tony. A lot of my Uncle Tony.
Trump, of course, tried a different approach, confusion combined with volume. When subtlety fails, volume becomes the default strategy. Unfortunately, volume doesn't translate to credibility, and in the digital age, it barely registers as coherence. Tweets were sent, statements were issued, and the only measurable outcome was an increase in search trends and exasperated sighs from the public. The spectacle continued, with each participant convinced they were winning while the audience collectively laughed at the absurdity. Meanwhile, the social media ecosystem did its thing. Memes of Trump holding a golden scepter next to a pixelated JD Vance screaming, "Why me?" spread like wildfire. TikTok remixes, Instagram carousels, and Connection could witness the slow, comedic unraveling of political dignity. And then there were the reactions of political pundits, which were simultaneously hilarious and predictable. Analysts scrambled to assign meaning to what was basically chaos wrapped in charm. Some called it a strategic humiliation. Others insisted it was irreversible damage, and a few just shrugged and muttered something about late-night humor being underappreciated. The irony, of course, was that the jokes themselves were so sharp they needed no commentary. The meltdown spoke for itself.
I don't know if you saw this, but Donald Trump hosted a highly unlikely Friendsgiving on Friday at the White House for the incoming mayor of New York, Zohran Mamdani. Most people were expecting fireworks, but they did not expect them to be the Katy Perry kind.
Just days ago, you referred to President Trump as a despot who betrayed the country. You said you'd be his worst nightmare and accused him of having a fascist agenda. Are you planning to retract any of these remarks?
I've been called much worse than a despot, so it's not that insulting.
Are you affirming that you think President Trump is a fascist?
I've spoken about...
That's okay, you can just say yes.
Okay,
So,
all right.
Okay? It's easier. It's easier than explaining it. I don't know.
I don't mind. Who are we kidding? I don't even know what despot means. Call me whatever you want.
What's fascinating here is the psychological ripple effect. Trump supporters tried damage control like medieval knights rushing to patch a crumbling castle. Vance allies debated endlessly about whether this is fair, while moderates simply watched, eyes wide, popcorn in hand. And Kimmel, with all the grace of a shark in a pool of unsuspecting goldfish, continued to deliver zingers that were part comedy, part social experiment. The unpredictability was intoxicating. Then came the part where the audience's imagination took over. Once Kimmel stepped away from the spotlight, viewers began speculating. What if every political misstep were analyzed with the same ruthless humor? Could Twitter survive a week of uninterrupted late-night sarcasm? Would future politicians start studying monologues instead of policy? The questions multiplied like rabbits in a magician's hat, each more absurd than the last. And yet, amid all the chaos, there was a method to the madness. Kimmel's brilliance wasn't in cruelty. It was in timing, precision, and the ability to highlight absurdity without lowering himself to the level of the punchline. Trump and JD Vance became unwilling participants in a comedy ecosystem that thrives on exaggeration, irony, and the delicate art of public embarrassment. It was chaos, yes, but controlled chaos, like a perfectly executed fireworks display designed to make everyone flinch and laugh at the same time.
One of the most interesting things that came out of the chat is that JD Vance apparently did not agree with Trump's plan to bomb. He wrote, "I think we are making a mistake, and I'm not sure the president is aware how inconsistent this is with his message on Europe right now." And then Pete Hegseth chimed in. He said, "VP, I understand your concerns. I fully support you racing with POTUS." In other words, good luck with that, bro. So then Vance was like, well, you know what? If you think we should do it, let's go. And they did. And again, we know all this because they accidentally added a reporter to their text chain.
By the time the segment ended, the aftermath was evident everywhere. Clips circulated, memes multiplied, pundits reeled, and both Trump and Vance were left to pick through the debris of their dignity. Social media had declared a winner, and it wasn't anyone in the political ring. It was comedy itself, wrapped up in a suit of impeccable timing, delivered by a man who knew exactly which buttons to press and how hard. And the best part? This wasn't a fleeting moment. The jokes would echo, the memes would resurface, and every future appearance by either figure would inevitably be compared to that one night when Jimmy Kimmel didn't just tell jokes. He orchestrated a full-scale spectacle of public humiliation. Every new tweet, every interview, Every press appearance would carry the invisible weight of that monologue, like a shadow that follows relentlessly, slightly mocking, slightly terrifying. In the end, it's a lesson in timing, public perception, and the power of humor. As the digital dust settled, it became clear that this wasn't just a monologue. It was a social experiment disguised as entertainment.
And then the president pardoned the birds as only he can.
Looks like a rather violent bird. Hard to play. Anyway, are you ready? Beautiful. Nice. You are hereby unconditionally pardoned.
There you go. All right. In 6 months, when they're indicted for crypto fraud, he'll say he never met them. Uncle Scam also treated the gathered crowd to a fairy tale about how low the price of food is now since he took office.
People began dissecting every frame, every pause, every smirk, as if Kimmel had dropped secret codes into the air that only the truly woke could decode. And somehow, the absurdity multiplied. Every reaction, whether from Trump trying to defend himself or Vance attempting to regain composure, became a fresh source of content. One eyebrow raise could inspire 10 memes, a GIF, and a full-blown Reddit thread debating what it meant for the fate of civilization. Then came the subtle yet relentless trolling. Fans and critics alike began layering absurd interpretations over every gesture. JD Vance sipping water suddenly became symbolic of political fragility. Trump adjusting his time mid-joke transformed into evidence of existential confusion. Kimmel, ever the conductor of chaos, didn't intervene. He let it fester, amplify, and mutate into a digital circus where every participant, willing or not, was part of the show. The internet lapped it up like a dog who just discovered peanut butter. And of course, the reaction videos. Because nothing in 2025 counts as real until someone films themselves reacting to something else reacting. Within hours, dozens of content creators were framing Kimmel's jokes as cinematic masterpieces, social commentary, and occasionally, divine intervention. Commentary channels debated whether this would change political discourse forever or just make JD Vance permanently twitch at talk shows. Either way, engagement skyrocketed. Algorithms were having existential crises.
Decided to send JD Vance's wife, Usha, to Greenland to meet with their realtor, I guess. I don't know why, but when they asked about it during a cabinet meeting yesterday, it didn't seem like Trump could quite remember her name.
Greenland is confused about the Second Lady and the National Security Advisor visiting this week.
I thought it would be I have great respect for the wife of our great vice president. I think she's a brilliant woman.
Meanwhile, the supporters' attempts to stage a counteroffensive were instructive. Imagine a battalion of confused soldiers charging into a hurricane armed with cardboard shields. Tweets meant to clarify ended up self-sabotaging. Interviews intended to redirect narratives only reinforced the chaos. The internet, ever merciless, cataloged every misstep in high definition, slowed down frame by frame, and captioned with the kind of sarcasm that could make a stone statue cry. The result? Every attempt to defend dignity only amplified its absence. And the audience? They were delighted, horrified, and utterly captivated, all at the same time. Even weeks later, the echoes of that monologue lingered. In the end, nobody really won, except humor itself, gleefully holding a mirror up to egos and letting chaos reign. And somewhere, deep in the heart of social media, the memes quietly whispered, "The joke isn't over, it's eternal."